This one has a wax spot in the handle.
Can't see it. It's right there.
So my thoughts were, if we could somehow glue glaze onto the top of that wax spot, that would be fantastic. You and me, babe. You and me, babe. It's just nothing else like you.
We're ready to go.
I mixed glaze with PVA glue and I got this mess. But I think that this is going to work, honestly. All I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of this glue right here, a little globby, and I'm going to put it on top of that wax. And when this dries, so I'm putting that on top of that spot of wax. And it just molded down in there real nicely. When this dries, I'm hoping that it will glue it down enough that that won't be...
When the wax burns off, it'll stay.
Yeah. Because everybody knows that, you know, there's always that that spot in the place where you wax that gets that one drop of glaze on it, and then you have one drop of glaze in a field of nothing. So anyway, so that's what the patch looks like right now. We'll be checking in on it, but
Worst case scenario, just look like we did nothing.
yeah. And this is still yucky. This is what it looks like. I mean... So this is something that happens a lot when you get your glaze too thick. However, this is a very, very fluffy glaze. Fluffy glaze. The specific gravity of this glaze is right now at 128. I measured it. And there's no possible way that that is a problem with the glaze, except that it is. Let me explain. These little tiny pieces are so thin that they can't absorb that much water. The thing is that the specific gravity of a glaze is only half of the issue. The other half of the issue is how thick your pot is. The walls of this pot are extremely thin. Same glaze. It's just fine. But the walls of this pot are thick enough to handle the water. So, at first glance, you might look at that and go, oh, your glaze application is too thick. No. The walls of my pot are too thin. You can throw thicker walls, or you can thicken up your glaze so that your glaze doesn't have as much water in it. And if your glaze doesn't have as much water in it, then the thinner wall has less to absorb to get the same amount of glaze. And this is one of the biggest reasons that as a studio, as a potter, you have to get to where you can throw even wall thickness. I can throw even wall thickness. All of these little tiny pots have even wall thickness. but they don't have even wall thickness with my normal things that need this fluffy glaze to be at 128 in order to get a happy coat. So, when your glaze does this, that does not necessarily mean that the glaze coat is too thick. So your glaze thickness and your wall thickness have to play nice together. And that may be why we don't see specific gravities written on recipes more often. So for somebody that's really new at throwing or hand builds with 1/4-inch slabs, the specific gravity for a glaze that would look the best on that pot is going to be completely different than the specific gravity that's going to look good on this tiny, thin pot. So as I sit here and massage all my little pots, I sincerely hope that if you are stuck in a community studio somewhere and your stuff never looks like everybody else's and you keep wondering why, that maybe this will give you some sense of satisfaction that you did not have before.
Here I am rubbing out the cracks. And I have done this before and it's worked just fine. I always do this with pinholes. If pinholing is a glaze application problem, generally it will rub out just like this. However, on this particular glaze, the specific gravity was so thin that there just flat out wasn't enough glaze on the pot to begin with to fill in the cracks, as you will see in a minute. Now let's talk about pinholing as a glaze application issue.
Okay, so I'm using my hand as representative of the bisqueware. For some reason, this glaze today is showing beautifully how pinholing happens. Pinholing can be a glaze application issue. And if you see this on your finished pieces before they're glazed, you will most likely see it on your pieces after they're glazed. But the good news is, if you see those pinholes after the glaze has dried, you'll be like, huh, that's kind of speckled. Just rub over it. It's okay. Just like I was rubbing out those cracks earlier. It's not hard. It's just something you gotta do. In the video where I talk about bisque temperature, somebody in the comments had suggested bisquing to a lower temperature. And For Flux's Sake podcast says that that will improve glaze application to the point that you won't get pinholing anymore. I don't have much of a pinholing problem. Obviously, the green that I was working with over there with the cracks in it, I'm hoping it will help that. But you'll just have to subscribe and see. Because I'll put it up here. sometimes you get what you want. Sometimes you don't. So I know you've all been wanting to know about this piece. Well, it pinholes. It pinholed really pretty badly. However, where we glued on the glaze over the top of the wax, you can't tell. You cannot tell. Are you kidding me? Did I just figure out a way to glaze a piece that had a droplet of wax on it? I think I did. So, woo! I could not be more thrilled with that. So as far as techniques that I tried in this kiln load, we got 2 out of 3. I am very satisfied with that. Caribbean Sea did not do well. Everything in Caribbean Sea crawled. Some more than others. It really does actually need to be stuck to the pot, and rubbing it down does not stick it back to the pot. Lesson learned. As with everything in pottery, if you get your glaze too thin, it turns brown. Why is that a thing? It doesn't matter what glaze it is. I feel like sometimes if you get it too thin, it turns brown. But it crawled, so it's got to be redone anyway. Now the coasters fared a little better. But you know, gravity was working in their favor. This is the worst one. So that is Caribbean Sea. The sea foam did amazingly well. So this is sea foam and raspberry. And it did really, really beautifully on everything I put it on. No pinholing, no nothing. It looks gorgeous. The raspberry looks gorgeous. I really love this one where it changes color in the middle to that. It's almost a blue color. Everything raspberry, everything in the sea foam looks amazing. The set of 4 bowls, those look great. And I have one, cereal bowl for people that are on a diet. This is the pink and the licorice. And I tried to make matches. So I have these 2 that are the same. They don't match. They're not the same size. But I did my best. I have 2 black and white cups that are gorgeous. Love those. Turns blue in the middle with the licorice and the white together. This was interesting. This is the variegated blue and the pink. I changed the specific gravity on this, and then I did a really, really long dip. This is the glaze that in the last firing came out just flat brown. Like you could not see any blue in it whatsoever. This is a little bit more opaque than what I want. So I think there's too heavy of a coat on this because it's not breaking to a browner brown. Same variegated blue here. But I think it's a little thinner on this than it is on this. And they look like 2 different colors. So
that all has to do with the amount of time that I held the piece in the glaze. Now let's look at Superman's work. Superman did this set of guitar mugs. Just cool. Okay, so he took our glazes, the glazes that we have, that I've been making, and he put over the top of that a store-bought Shino, because I don't have a Shino recipe yet. The two store-bought Shinos that we have are Coyote Butterscotch and Coyote Light Shino. And this is the Butterscotch, and this is the Light Shino on the Mazarine Blue. This is licorice, I do believe. It ran a little bit. It ran off the pot a little bit. This is variegated blue, and it also hit the floor. Another guess, this is licorice with the butterscotch and the light. And then the rest of these, I'm kind of, that is probably light Shino. These are probably caramel. But I don't really know what they're on top of. I'll ask him. If he knows, I'll tell you. If he doesn't, there's nothing I can do. And I don't think he wrote any of this down. So, but super fun with the guitar mugs. Very, very cool. And then last but not least, we have single-fired mini fairy castles. I love them. And these turned out great. There's one little area here that's got some cracking in it. And there's maybe a couple of little places on this that have some little cracking on it. So I may choose to put a clear glaze over that, but I may not have time. But this one has too much pink on it, and I'm guessing that it's too much pink that is doing that, because it was not doing that before firing. It had to have happened when it shrank. The good news is I can paint this with a clear coat and put it back in the kiln, and it should be just fine. We do have a majority of things that turned out just fine. It's really only one glaze that caused, 90% of the problems here. So I'm gonna have to figure out that glaze because I like it. I'm gonna have to figure that out. I'll let you know what I do. Thanks for coming, everybody. Okay, you have this all wrong, Emily. I should get up. I should get up right now and look and tell you what it is. I'm just lazy. Make this, oh my gosh, just whack things together there, and
You're not having a shot.
that happens a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna start that over. Your wall thickness mowing the grass. Why do I even try to open the garage door? Oh, sponge, where have you gone? Oh, sponge. Oh, sponge, where have you gone? You keep running off. I don't know what to do.
sponge, I really, really need you.
We would be ever so grateful if you would like to support this channel by clicking the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. But better yet, head on over to callustemily.com and buy yourself something nice. Thanks for coming.